Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and I'm autistic. I have ADHD. I have a memory disorder called SDAM. It stands for Severely Deficient Autobiographical Memory, and I have total aphantasia, which means that I can't not visualize in my mind and I don't experience any of the senses in my mind. So today I want to talk about autism and comorbidities. About 85% of people who are diagnosed with autism have some other comorbid diagnosis. So a comorbidity is simply the simultaneous presence of two or more diseases, disorders, or medical conditions in a patient. I happen to have 4 that have been identified. The autism, ADHD, aphantasia, and SDAM. Aphantasia and SDAM they're not in the DSM, which is the medical diagnostic manual that psychiatrists and psychologists use to do diagnoses. They are still being researched. But between 50 and 70% of people with autism also are diagnosed with ADHD. Some other comorbidities that are common with autism are, other than ADHD, are OCD, generalized anxiety disorders, epilepsy, generalized depression, although that one I think is sometimes being misdiagnosed and is actually autistic burnout. But again, I'm not a medical channel. This is just stuff that I'm getting on Google. But more and more information is being put out and updated all the time on autism. Intellectual disabilities are common comorbidity. About 2/3 of autistic people do not have an intellectual disability. Only 1/3 of autistic people also have a comorbidity of an intellectual disability. But a lot of times the stereotype, people collapse those two, but they are separate diagnoses. And another common comorbidity with autism is child onset schizophrenia. So today I also want to talk a little bit about my kids. So I have teenage twins. They got diagnosed last fall, the same time I did. And they are both diagnosed with autism and ADHD. And my son is also diagnosed with OCD. And I was trying to kind of understand, because since I'm also autistic ADHD, I have a little bit more understanding of those traits. But with the OCD, that one, since I don't have OCD, I wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about it. And I was talking to my son and trying to kind of understand what OCD feels like for him. One of the things that he specifically suffers with OCD is something called intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts are unwanted thoughts. They are urges or images that are repeated and persistent, and they cause a lot of anxiety and distress. So these are not things like, oh, I should dye my hair purple, and just like spontaneously you dye your hair purple. These are things like when my son is doing embroidery project, his brain tells him to shove the needle in his thumbnail, which is not something that he wants to do. The thought just takes over his brain and he doesn't follow through, but the thought is very much there and it's persistent and it causes distress and anxiety. And he has to really work on redirecting to get away from that thought. Other intrusive thoughts are the constant worry that his actions are going to harm other people. He is highly empathetic and he stresses that just like his presence in general will cause harm to others, which again, he knows these things aren't true. It's his brain that will have these persistent thoughts that he's not in control of. So one day we were sitting down and we were talking about how his thoughts and him are separate. Like, he doesn't have control of these thoughts. These are not wanted thoughts. These aren't things that he is like daydreaming of like, how he wants his life to go. These are literally intrusive. That's like the definition of them. So we were talking about how they were separate from him. And he decided to give them a name, and he said that my intrusive thoughts, my intrusive brain is my brain gremlin. And I really loved that. And I asked him, because he's an artist, I said, hey, can you draw your brain gremlin for me? Because maybe if we can kind of quantify what he is and personify him, then when you're having intrusive thoughts, we can tell the brain gremlin to just be quiet, right? So he drew his brain gremlin, and I thought his brain gremlin was just absolutely adorable. And I love that he has a cute brain gremlin, even though the brain gremlin is not very nice. We don't like the brain gremlin. Well, then I heard of a company called Budsies. I reached out to Budsies and asked them if they would be interested in working with me to make this video, because I thought their product would be an absolute perfect fit for my son. And they were delighted to send me one of their products so that I could share it with y'all. So what my son did was, because also, autistic, he's very analytical. So he took his original drawing, which you don't have to do. You can just submit a drawing that your kid, an original drawing, but he took his original drawing and then he made blueprints of it from a front, a back, and a side. And this is what we submitted to Budsies, the company. And what they do is they take your kid's drawings and they turn them into stuffed animals for your kid to be able to hold on to and love. And he even put in some little details of how he wanted the eyes and everything. I love the little basically plan that he came up for the artist at Budsies. So we did that, and they gave us the option to be able to see a preview of our Budsie, where they sent a picture and we could make some edits, but there was nothing that needed to be changed. It was absolutely perfect. So we approved the preview, and then, gosh, it wasn't even that long. In our mailbox, we got a brain gremlin. So it comes with a cute little tag that says, Budsies on it. And this was 100% custom from my son's drawings. And so we have our little brain gremlin with his cute little eyes, and he's got these, what are these called? I forgot, my brain just blanked out. Not talons. These are his talons. So he's got little talons on his feet, little claws, and he's got this cute little hooked tail. And they were able to find shiny, scaly fabric for him, and his cute little teeth that stick up. And he's just so adorable and squishy. And this is so perfect. So now we have a physical representation of my son's brain gremlin. And when the brain gremlin is getting a little intrusive, we can now have something to focus our energy on, and hey, brain gremlin, you need to be quiet today, okay? We're not going to feed you intrusive thoughts. We're going to feed you love and kindness. So I want to say thank you so much to Budsies for sending this. Oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional because this is just absolutely perfect. So I think that, anybody who is struggling with their brain and they want to be able to personify their brain in a way to be able to have a little bit of control over it and be I am not my intrusive thoughts, I am not my depression, I am not my anxiety, whatever brain condition that is making it where you are struggling, being able to send in a drawing and have a physical representation of your brain gremlin or whatever you want to name it, and be able to see that it is separate from you. I think it is brilliant and wonderful. And, that's not necessarily the idea behind Budsies. Budsies will bring to life any drawing that your child makes, whether it's a brain gremlin or an elf or the dragon or whatever they want to draw. They also have a section called the selfies, where you can send in a photo of your kid and they will make a stuffed animal that looks like your child. So that's pretty cool too. But anyway, again, I just really want to say thank you to Budsies, because this is just so delightful, and I think it's really gonna be a tool that we can have in our toolbox to help with the OCD intrusive thoughts. So I just want to say, if it feels like you're starting to get a laundry list of diagnoses, one, it could be just that you have a lot going on in your head and you need to sort it out. Sometimes what happens is psychologists are trying to figure out the right diagnosis, and sometimes people get like 3 or 4 diagnoses and they're like, this just feels all cumbersome, because they all sort of fit, but nothing really is like the right one. And they keep advocating and keep talking, and they will get some removed, because it's like, oh, you did mostly fit these criteria, but really, you know, this one's the biggest one. For instance, a lot of women were getting diagnosed with bipolar depression combo, when it really was just autism and autistic burnout, which isn't a true actual diagnosis right now, but it presents a lot like depression. And sometimes actually dementia too. The autistic burnout is something that they are currently studying, and it's getting a lot of attention because it is a very serious result of undiagnosed autism or late diagnosed autism. Anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much, and I will see y'all on the next one.